Hey, greetings and salutations, and welcome to another opportunity for us to share our experience, strength, and hope around wellness, awareness, and recovery. We like to call it Rise for War, which is what the acronym is. But more importantly, it's about us sharing the information with each other so that we can empower ourselves to participate in our own survival. I'm your host, Reggie Smith, and in a little while, we will be joined by my good friend and partner, Dr. Luther Virgil Jr., who is the esteemed doctor of epidemiology and infectious diseases. And he will bring some of the facts and the figures and break it down for us in a way that we'll be able to understand. But as we wait for him, I'd like to talk to some of you. I've got some of my good friends, and I know for a fact that we have our own personal experiences with COVID-19. It's been a hell of a ride since about last February or March when we first got the information in the news about what was going around. And I know that, some of us, all of us that are of age, have lived through the HIV epidemic as well. And so we had brought some experience into it, but now it was on a more global is everybody was involved. A lot of times people with HIV didn't feel like they were involved, but everybody knew that they were involved. They were eligible for catching COVID. And unfortunately, uh, over the past year or so, we have lost lots of loved ones and friends. So I'd like to, the first thing I'd like to do is just take a moment of silence as we stand on the shoulders of all those who have gone before us, those loved ones that we've lost, and those guardian angels that they are now watching over us as we're still here on this plane. So let's have a moment of silence. And in the African tradition, we say Ashe. All right. So once again, my good friend, Dr. Luther Virgil Jr. will be joining us in a little while. But until then, I'd like to talk to some of my friends. I've got some of my friends in the audience now. Got my good brother, Akil, and also Big Henry's in the audience. I personally, to start things off, was skeptical about taking the vaccine, even after watching all of my friends, that had been contracting the virus and the different things that they were experiencing. I was still, as a result of what I know this country and this world to be, I was skeptical about taking the vaccine. But I'll be 65 this year, and I lived through the HIV epidemic. We decided to go ahead and take the vaccine, and we got our shot on Thursday. And so I'm grateful to hopefully be having some protection. I know that we can probably speak to some of your fears, what your experiences are, but I also want to say hello to my good friend, Dr. Luther Virgil. What's going on, bro?
How are you guys doing?
Good, and yourself?
I'm fine. First, I have to apologize for being just a little bit behind. I was doing a couple of things. I tell you, I'm still getting used to the digital age, and that combined with the fact that I was trying to connect up with one of my colleagues related to whether or not the FDA has done the final release of the information related to corona vaccines. So I was trying to have the most up-to-date information for you all.
Well, nobody's got the whole package, and as a result of your medical genius, we're gonna cut you a great big brick on your nature, your tardy nature. But we thank you for being here, man. I know that you bring the noise, you bring all of the great information, and so thanks for showing up. So look, what's going on? I know that we wanted to talk a little bit about some of the facts before we got into some of the experiences. Don't want to, beat over the horse over the head too long, but tell us a little bit about some of the latest information on COVID-19, what we should know about the variants, what we should know about the vaccine, and what's going on.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, the pandemic itself, I think everyone who's probably here on this videoing and this meeting, and everyone who's out there knows that it's been made a significant impact on our lives. Some of the more recent things that I find interesting in terms of what's going on have to do with one, we right now appear to be in another lull. And I put it that way, and I'll explain to you why I say another lull. We overall in the last month in the United States, the number of cases of coronavirus reported has dropped by about 57%. The number of hospitalizations of individuals with coronavirus has dropped by about 50%. And the number of deaths related to coronavirus has dropped by about 30%. Now, that's very good news and very good information. But I say the word lull because as a medically trained individual in infectious disease, my experience with other diseases and other viruses similar to this virus has been that there will be some time frames when there will be a drop in the numbers, especially as we address it. And I think most individuals know we've been addressing it with the vaccines themselves, as well as some of the medications that have been approved for treatment of coronavirus. But in many cases, once we have that drop, we will hit a plateau, it will flatten out, and then there'll be another rise in the number of cases. And that has to do with a number of issues. One, it has to do with the fact that people drop their guard once they see that there's a drop in the number of cases. People want to get back to what they call normal. And so they will have family gatherings, they will forget the masks, they will do other things that maybe increase the risk. So right now we're at a lull, and that's a good thing. The other thing I would talk about would be the fact that the vaccines. We've had just recently, and as I was explaining to you, the FDA panels that actually evaluate medications have given a positive thumbs up to the J&J, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is a single dose vaccine. And I expect that vaccine to actually be approved at any time. It could be today or by tomorrow. And once that's done, Johnson & Johnson itself, the company itself, has approximately 4 million doses waiting to deliver immediately. They can deliver 20 million doses by March, and about 100 million doses by June, end of June. And what that would do, that number of doses coming in as a single dose treatment, it could truly change the outline of who we are approving for getting these vaccinations. It could actually open the door for a lot more people to meet the qualifications to get approval to go get their vaccines, and of course make a tremendous difference in the outcomes in the virus. So I think that having this new vaccine being approved is also something very, very exciting that's going on. There's something that happened with the Pfizer vaccine. As you know, in the United States, there are two vaccines that have been approved. And that's the Pfizer vaccine and the Moderna vaccine. The Pfizer vaccine, the FDA has looked at it and said that it can actually be stored for a long enough time in a regular freezer that it can actually now be available in more places for people to get vaccinations. And so that's another thing that's exciting. Again, having it be available means more people can get the dose and get the vaccinations. And the third thing, as I would say about the vaccines, that's exciting that's going on right now, is that there is more and more evidence to show that one single dose of any of the vaccines over a time period of 28 days or less than a month time period may give significant prevention of getting the actual COVID-19 virus, even in the case of the vaccines that have been approved for 2 doses as the requirement. And so having that also means that one of the things that we could look at possibly is giving the first dose to more and more people, and then waiting till later to give the second dose. Again, making more availability. The excitement about the vaccines is availability, 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 and therefore getting more and more people vaccinated. As it stands right now, about somewhere around 25 million people have had the full vaccination in the United States. Some people say it's about 6 or 7% of the population has been vaccinated. So that's a very good thing too, as we try to work towards the point where we have herd immunity and protection against this particular virus. So those are some of the things I think are very exciting that are going on right now.
It is very exciting. I know some of it seems like to me, and I was looking at the data, some of the data seems to be a little bit misleading in that we hear a lot on the news about how Black people are, you know, disproportionately not getting vaccinated. Uh, but when I look at the data, it also looks like there's a lot more white people have contracted the virus. A lot more young people have actually contracted the virus. But there are a lot more elderly people that are dying from the virus. And I think one of the best things that I hear about that makes the vaccination worth taking the shot for me, excuse the pun, is that it purportedly will help keep sickness and death away. And that's the most important thing. It doesn't mean that you won't contract the virus, but that you won't get sick and die, and that you may not have a severe response to the virus. And I think that's important as well.
Yeah, I think that's a point that many people talk about the actual Johnson & Johnson vaccine that's being given out now. I've had individuals talk to me and say, well, you know, Dr. Virgil, the Moderna virus is 94%, gives a 94% ability to prevent you from getting infection. The Pfizer BioNTech vaccine has a 95% risk reduction of you getting the virus. But the J&J, those single dose vaccine, only about 64 to 66%. And that depends on the studies. In the United States, the clinical trials, individuals in the United States that got the J&J, it was 72% of them who got the one dose who had reduced risk of getting the virus. But your point is very, very important, Reggie, what you brought up. And that is, they say, well, then why in the world are we even allowing the J&J vaccine or even talking very much about it? Why? It's because, again, what you said. But what people have to understand is that 100% of the individuals who've received the J&J vaccine have not, none of them have died. 100% of them have lived. And so that is a vaccine we want to use. 100% of the people taking it. So, and also when we take a look at it, by far, 70, 80% after a time frame are not hospitalized. So what you're saying is, even you might get the actual virus and have some symptoms, little things like a light cold, 100% of the time, if you take this vaccine, according to our data right now, you're not going to die, and you're not going to go to the hospital. So yeah, there may be a little discomfort. Some people are saying, well, you know what, for one shot and it's over and I'm protected, I'd rather go ahead on and I'll do that. In other words, it is still a very, very useful tool in our armamentum in fighting this virus. So that's a great point.
Yeah, we definitely are playing the odds. We have had the experience with HIV. My personal experience was that, I didn't trust the medications when they first came out, and it may have proved to be a good deal because AZT seemed to be a little harsh on folks, and a lot of people died in the experimental phase. But once the medications got really perfected, I want to say, not perfected, but they got better and they got less toxic, then they kept us in the game. And so those of us who have survived over a long period of time, I personally have been taking the medications for a number of years now. So it's a numbers game, and we take a shot. Everyone is having a different experience, but we definitely want to make sure that people have the best information possible. It's not like you can go out there and shop around either. I mean, we went to Mercy Care here in Atlanta, Georgia, and they had the Moderna shot, and so I didn't have a choice. And I'm sure when the J&J comes out, or the other vaccines come out, you won't have a choice. Well, it's not like you can shop around and go where you want to go.
In the beginning, now, the great thing about having this new vaccine and the fact that they can produce so much, also the fact that now Pfizer has corrected some of the production issues they were having, and they can actually start cranking out more and more doses. And so Moderna also. So later on down the line, for the younger individuals who are not meeting the qualifications for getting the vaccine right now, they may actually have a choice down the line. But right now, you don't. And the key is that we're focusing on making sure we keep people alive. And you're correct. Still, the older individuals who get this virus are the ones who are dying, even in the presence of these vaccines. I'm not saying that the vaccines aren't helping. The vaccines are tremendously helping. But there's still that category of individuals is the individuals that we see from our data that is being most affected by having death as it relates to this virus, ones that are actually going to the hospitals more frequently. Yes.
Yes. And so, that's great information. I definitely know. I wanted to ask you also that, so we have more than one kind of vaccination that you can get. Can they be mixed and matched? I know that we don't know how long, because they haven't been out that long. We don't know how long they last. And in the beginning, they said we need to get 2 shots. Suppose, if before my 30 days is up, there's another vaccine. There's the J&J is available. Can people mix and match? What do we know about being able to take the Moderna with the Pfizer with the J&J? Can you put a cocktail together? We don't really know. I know we don't have the benefit of time, but what can you say to that?
Well, again, right now, the way that the vaccinations are controlled, it's very, very difficult for you to do that. I would say that I'm not aware of anyone who's been able to do that. When you get your first vaccine dose, you are given a numbered tag that is actually matched with a dose that's already available for you. So when you get the first vaccination dose, a second dose is already available for you. That dose will only be transmitted to the area where you were, and it has to match up with your particular card that has the particular numbers on it that will allow you to get that vaccine. So right now I'm not aware of individuals who are doing that. However, right, there are individuals I'm hearing about in Europe where things aren't quite as coordinated and the availability is not as good. And so they were trying to truly get a hold of the virus, get a foothold on it, that they have done this. They have given one Moderna, one Pfizer, and then one Moderna, and et cetera, et cetera. And so far, I haven't heard anything negative about that. If we keep in mind the whole context of how these vaccines work, we can see how that might be possible. So remember that the vaccines themselves use a different modality, either an inactive virus or a piece of the virus to stimulate your immune system to form a system for attacking the virus again if they ever see it. So the key is immune system function. And that is, if I see the virus, I'm going to attack it. So theoretically, if you use one type of stimulant, which is related to the virus, you possibly, and the immune system works, you possibly could also have your immune system give that secondary boost from another stimulant that is still part of that virus that you're attacking. So that's a possibility. And I think that's why some areas they've actually tried this, because the science says that this could possibly work. But as you know, in America, what we do is we really work on the issue of the data. We work on trials and looking at outcomes. And so we haven't really had those kind of trials to look at those outcomes.
Well, I appreciate that. I know that, we want to stay in contact with you. And I know you don't have a whole lot of time today, but we're glad that you would join us and share some of the latest information regarding COVID-19, the vaccinations, the variants, and, but I know some of my friends also have had some experiences, and I'd love for them to be able to talk to you if they might. If you've had an opportunity, if you've had the virus already and have some experience that you'd like to share with folks, come on in, talk to me a little bit. And as a matter of fact, don't make me call on you. I know who you are. If you'd like to share a little bit about what your experience has been and what it is now. Oh, there he is. Oh, my goodness. My good friend Akil from Atlanta. Say, young man, would you open up your microphone and talk to us a little bit about what your experience with COVID-19, whether it's, how the fear of contracting or what's your experience?
What's up, Dr. Luther? How you doing?
How you doing,
Long time no see, man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, Lynn's here. Hey, Miller. Well, I mean, talk about what? The actual getting it, the hospitalization, or where I'm at now. What would you like me to share about?
Well, if that was your experience, then share about that. I didn't, want to.
Okay. Real short. August 17th, I went to work. I'm a bartender at a hookah bar lounge, and I went to work. And it was the favorite night of the week. It was jazz night. We have live jazz at the establishment. And I went to work and got my gloves on, got my mask on, went to work. About 3 days later, I was in the emergency room at Emory, not Decatur, but the other Emory out here. And they gave me the test, but they deemed that they weren't sure what it is or what it was, and they sent me home. And then maybe 3 days after that, I was having a lot of difficulty breathing. The ambulance came this time, took me to the hospital, Emory Decatur, and after being there for a couple of hours, they sent me back home. But it was maybe 4 days later that I asked my wife, Fatima, to call the ambulance because I can't breathe. I was sitting on my couch, like literally not able to breathe. And it was the worst I had felt ever in my life. And probably the most fearful. I was scared to death. It took me, kept me. And for the first 3 days, I just lay in the hospital room. They took blood and all this stuff. And then maybe about the third or fourth day, they came in the room and they said, Mr. Williams, we're going to take you to ICU. And I FaceTimed with my wife and I called her because I thought that was actually the last time I was ever going to see her again. Because anybody that I had ever known who had contracted this virus, when they went to ICU, it was over with. And as I was being wheeled onto the ICU unit, I was sitting up on the bed and I was looking at the rooms. And every room that I passed by, there was someone on a ventilator. And there was a doctor, or not a doctor, a nurse or a practitioner who had an iPad up, and the family was on the iPad and they were talking to the individual that was laying in the bed. But of course, they were not responsive because they were on a ventilator. Well, at that time, when I saw that, I thought it was over with. But what happened was, as God would have it, I wasn't able to get on the ventilator. I had COVID and I had double pneumonia. So my lungs were so banged up that the doctor said, Mr. Williams, we can't put you on the ventilator because your lungs are really in bad shape and it's really not going to make any sense to do that. He said, so this is what we got going on. He said, we are going to try a new round of medicine with you. We're going to experiment. We've got an experimental medicine we're going to use with you. And it's either going to work or we're going to just end up making you comfortable. Whew. When I heard that, man, I just prayed. I said, in our fellowship, we call them foxhole prayers. God, if you get me out of this one, I promise I won't do this again. And I made something similar to that, but it was a different prayer. I said, well, you know what? If it's your will and I get out of this one, whatever it is you'll have me do, that's what I'm going to do. Where you need me to go, that's where I'm going to go. And what you need me to say, that's what I'm going to say. And they gave me remdesivir, Dr. Luther. And they gave me the remdesivir and they gave me a round of steroids. And immediately my body responded. So I was able to spend probably another 2 weeks in the hospital. I spent a total of 3 weeks in the hospital. I lost 25 pounds. I look like I've been through it. And it was it was tough. So fast forward to today. Went to the doctor yesterday, Thursday, and he said my lungs are about close to 90% healed. So this is over a 6-month period. When I went in though, I found out that I was diabetic. Didn't even know nothing about that. And that was tough for me. But as far as the COVID, I still suffer. I still live with shortness of breath. When I came home, I had to live on the couch. I couldn't make it upstairs to my bedroom. So for the first 2 months of being home from the hospital, I slept on my couch. I couldn't walk more than 6 feet. As time would go on, I look at today, I take 20 to 25-minute walks today. In fact, me and Dion and I were walking together every morning, but she has since had surgery. So since she's not able to walk as much or as long, so my wife and I still walk for her today until she catches up with us. And my issues today, I just got signed up for taking the shot. Both my wife and I. We're going March 9th. And when I heard my mentor talk about him and Dion had the shot, that just gave me confirmation. I said, excuse my language, but I said, shit, if Reggie taking it, then I might be all right. I might, because, I talked to him we talk about various amounts of things, but I will tell you that I am still very afraid, Dr. Luke. I will tell you that because I caught COVID and my case was so severe, I'm afraid to go outside. I am afraid to go outside. I go outside and walk, and I talk to Dee Dee when I walk, and me and Dee Dee be talking, and we be laughing and having a ball, but I'm afraid of crowds. I am definitely afraid of crowds. And my doctor yesterday, Thursday, we talked about, I'm now going to do, I'm going for, he's going to hook me up with counseling, counseling, because the effect of the COVID is not just physical for me, not for me. And my wife had already started counseling. She's already doing it. And I realized that it's something I need to do because I can't walk around being afraid to go out, because I don't go out for weeks at a time. And the other day, Fatima said, listen, you got to come outside. And I was paranoid. But I went out with her. We went to Old Navy, and we went to Goodwill, and we walked around. And then we went and got smoothies together. And that's what we did. So, it's the fear now. The fear of getting that. I've never been hospitalized, number one. I never had the flu in my life. I'm 58 now. Never had any of those things. But when I caught this virus, I was sicker than I've ever been in my whole entire life. The pain, even still today, I still have I have insomnia. That they say that's one of the side effects of this COVID thing. Body aches. My legs get a little heavy sometimes. I'm lethargic. A lot of the time, I don't have a lot of energy. But walking has done a lot for me. But I want to get past the fear. I want to get, people talk about getting back to normal. About normal. But I want to get past the fear. So since I've had COVID, I've been diagnosed with acute stress disorder. So I'm dealing with that. I already am living with depression. I was diagnosed clinically depressed in 1985, so I've already known about that. But it's the anxiety and the paranoia of going outside and being around people that is frightening. I go to the supermarket, I go with the senior citizens at 6 a.m. because there's nobody in the store. If something has to be done or gotten from the supermarket after 12 noon, I just look at Fatima, I just look at her. She's like, okay, I'll go, because I'm not going. And I want to get past that. I want to feel better about it. Yeah, Dr. Luther. Yeah, Dr. Luther.
Your story is so common, a lot more common than you would probably think or know, especially when you start looking at the way a large percentage of the population and a large section of the media and stuff address this disease as if being protective or safe or avoiding is a negative thing. But after the things that you've suffered, why not be that way? What I can say to you is this: a couple things. One, the fact that you had the remdesivir. So prior to occurrence of remdesivir and Regeneron and dexamethasone, and I believe that they probably gave you a combination of remdesivir and dexamethasone, individuals didn't have an answer. And so when that physician said to you, well, we're going to give you this new medication, and if you do, either you're going to do well or we're just going to make you comfortable. A lot of people had to be just comfortable. And can you just imagine that? And like you said, individuals holding up iPads to talk to their family members, the loneliness that had to be associated with that, because the individual who are caring for you had to wear masks and shields. So I mean, I tell you, I'm just very grateful that you got through it. I'm grateful that those medications were available there. I will tell the individuals who are on listening to this this broadcast that there are new medications out that do assist individuals who go to the hospital. When we first saw this virus come out, I remember them talking about 4.6% death rate with it. And the death rate has definitely dropped significantly because we do have some of these new medications. There's a term that I don't know if you've ever heard called long hauler. Long hauler is a term that you might hear from individuals who have become infected with and suffered through COVID-19, and they continue to have symptoms. Some of the symptoms that you talk about: fatigue, muscle ache, pains, and some of them, and we can hear about things such as loss of taste and loss of smell, but they have had it after they've gotten through the acute phase of the virus infection itself. My wife works for one of the local area hospital systems, and she worked in the urgent care. So you can imagine back in January, February, March, all the individuals who were rolling through the urgent care, in 2020, and we didn't know very much about this virus. So unfortunately, she got the virus. She actually became infected herself. And now what? We are 1 year out. And one of the things that she just complains about most is she still has not yet gotten her taste back and her smell fully back to normal. So when she cooks for us now, she cannot add salt or spices, because when she does, everyone looks at it and says, this food is too salty and this food is too spicy. And she says she has to do all that to actually get taste. Now, for my wife loves to eat. Okay, and she will admit to that, and she loved to go to restaurants and things like that. And that's very annoying to her. That's like a life-changing experience to her, and that's not just the lungs, that's not just the shortness of breath, the fatigue, but even something like that, it can make such a significant difference in your life. So I'm grateful that the remdesivir, Regeneron, dexamethasone, some of the other things are available now to assist individuals who were once just dying. And I think you probably may be aware too, one of the things we discovered was putting people on the ventilator too soon and putting them in the improper position on the ventilator also was associated with increased death rate in hospitals at first, until we were able to understand how to truly use the ventilators. A natural person short of breath, you're going to give them oxygen, but we had to learn that we have to do it a certain way. So now we see more and more individuals surviving after they get this infection. I will say this to you, and I say this to individuals who come to me who've had the virus before and tell me that they're afraid like this. Well, there is data coming out just about every day now that shows individuals who had this infection have similar protection to getting a vaccination. It doesn't, and this protection, we can't say to you or prove that this lasts forever and ever. This protection right now, the early data suggests that the protection lasts 6 months, but we still have more people that we're trying to see how long this protection lasts from getting the virus again. And so at least for a while, there is protection, or it appears from the data, there is protection similar to getting the vaccine from individuals who've actually had the infection. We still suggest that they get the vaccination though, because remember, we're talking about immune systems and we're talking about stimulating the immune system. And so therefore, each time your immune system sees this challenge, what we call an antigen, what happens is the immune system works harder to get stronger to fight the infection. So we definitely suggest, and I will suggest to you that you get your vaccination, but I want you to know that right now, the chances are you actually have some protection. Reggie brought up a point that I wanted to get to earlier because it actually goes to this example here, variants. And when we talk about the word variants, what we know is this. Just about all viruses we've ever run into have a situation where they change over time. Most of the times when they change, or we call mutate, that doesn't affect the infection rate of the virus, infectivity. It doesn't affect the mortality, how it causes death. They may change a little bit. Think about it like this. When you have children, your children do not look exactly like you, but people always say, boy, he looks just like his daddy, or boy, she looks just like her mama. There are actual facial, there are actually features that are similar to your parent, but it's not all exact. Same thing happens with viruses. As they multiply, there are slight changes that occur. Sometimes when these viruses multiply and they multiply, and while they're multiplying, the change occurs, does, however, cause them to become more infectious, or does cause them to cause more mortality. Those are the variants that we worry about. So with this COVID-19, there are multiple variants, but there are 4 that you hear a lot about. You hear about the Brazil variant. And scientists use names like B117. To us, it tells us where this mutation occurs, how it occurs. But you'll hear Brazil variant. You'll hear the South African variant. You'll hear the UK variant, United Kingdom, and the California variant, the 20C California variant. And these variants are these are named based on where they're actually probably first seen. These have been the variants that we've been more concerned about over the last few months. With, I think, the South African variant being the one that most people are concerned about. And so what we've seen with most of these variants is that they do cause an increase in infection rate, and they do cause an increase in mortality. However, the vaccines that we have now are definitely showing that they work. It's just they don't work as well as the original viral strains that we saw. So I'm going to give you some examples, and yeah, I see there the P1, which is I think the Brazilian variant, those types of things like that. But what happens is that you will see that these vaccines do work. They actually help protect a little bit. Excuse me, I'll take that word a little bit out because I don't want anybody to get confused. They do help protect individuals from getting, getting the variant. They just don't necessarily do as well as the vaccine would do on treating the original type of infectious particle. So even though you have some a defense because of the virus, even though you may get the viral vaccine, we still want you to have the best that we can at treating the variants. Now, I won't leave you with just a horror show here, because right now what's happening is the companies that make the Pfizer vaccine, the companies that make the Moderna vaccine, J&J, AstraZeneca. The AstraZeneca vaccine was not approved for us here in America. It's being used in other places too. Well, they are actually working now on boosters that actually may help to treat the B1351 variant and the B117 variant and the P1 variant and the 20C variant. They're actually working on things that can address that. So I just wanted you to be aware that in your case, you have protection, but there is some concern about the variants. So we ask, individuals right now are saying, oh, we have this vaccine, we should be able to take our masks off and go do whatever. No, it's not that simple, but we are addressing that issue.
And there's still a lot of issues, but you guys have really addressed a lot of them, and I appreciate you. I heard you say that even if you have contracted the virus and gone through what Akil has shared that he's gone through, that still it's in your best interest to take the vaccine. That the variants, the vaccines seem to have some effectiveness against those, but time will tell. We don't know how long it will last, but most importantly, that it's important to be empowered with the information. And the more information you have, the more courage you can possibly muster. And when your time comes, if you're in a situation where you have to make some life affirming or life. And you have to make some really hard decisions when you're going through situations, and the more information that you have, the more likely you are to listen to your intuition and to be able to process that through good information so that you can make good decisions. I know that we only have a whole lot more time, but I see a couple of people with their hands up. I'd like to see what kinds of questions that they have. And so this young lady over here, she's kind of cute. What's your name is, girl? What your name is?
My name is Doris. I just wanted to know, once a person has the virus, how long should they wait before they go get the vaccine? Is there a waiting period?
So you say once they've had the virus itself, the
Right,
actual
like Akil had the virus.
Sure.
Let's say that he was just getting over the virus like today. How long should he wait before he goes to get a vaccine?
There's no information that he should wait. What has happened is some individuals received the vaccine while they were in the hospital with the actual virus itself. There's no, to my knowledge, there's no information that says the exact time frame they should wait. What I can say to you is this: we are now starting to get information that shows that, for example, after you get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, 14 days after it, you have 85% of its protective value. 28 days after it, you may be up to 100% of its protective value, maybe, but maybe a little less than that. So over time. But my suggestion is that you talk this over with your provider. But right now, I'm not aware of anything that says to someone, hey, you just got the virus, wait before you get the vaccine as a booster.
And I really wish my girlfriend had shown up, because that's what they told her sister. Her sister got the virus, was in the hospital, and they told her that she had to wait before she was eligible to get the vaccine. And also with the you giving the statistics on the Johnson & Johnson, with Moderna, because that's the vaccine that we had, how does, what is the rates with the Moderna? Like, we got the vaccination on Thursday. What is our percentage before we're 100%?
So one thing I want to say, and I'll give you that information. When you were talking, the young lady who got the virus and then was told that she would have to wait to get the vaccine, that right there, I believe, was more along the line with the fact that she has to wait to qualify according to the actual approvals for who is eligible for vaccine in her state. So just because you got the the virus, does not mean now you qualify for getting the shot. So if you are 65 years and older and you got the virus, you qualify, you can get the vaccine anytime you want. But if you're 35 years old, you still don't know of a date. If you're 35 years old, you have this, you get this infection and you overcome the infection, you are not right now eligible to get the vaccine. And I can't tell you the date that vaccine that you will become eligible. So I think it's really important to understand that. So I want clarification for the individuals out there.
Okay, and then I have one more question. My aunt had the virus, and now she's going into the hospital on Monday because she developed a blood clot in her arm, and they said that was the direct result of her having COVID.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. That you have, until otherwise proven, that is what you think it is, because that is one of the more common side effects of the virus. Blood clots. Okay, so think about the blood clot is a situation where in the normal flow of your blood vessel, whether it be artery, vein, a clot forms in and blocks off the normal flow of blood. Now, why does that clot occur? So again, I try to do this in a little simplistic way in helping individuals to via a more common example. You're driving down the street and the road has a pothole in it. Well, when you're driving normally, it's just very, very smooth. And so you're driving on the road. But when a pothole comes in the road, what happens? Ba-doom, ba-doom. You have an interruption of your flow. Traffic slows down. There's a backup in traffic. It's a traffic jam because that big pothole has stopped people from going over that road. That's what happens with a situation with, that's an example of how COVID is related to blood clots. What does your body do? What does the people in the road crew do? They run in and they put in a bunch of a tar, and they put in the stuff to patch that hole up. And while it's there, it's still not a smooth drive, or they put a plate over it until they come and fully repair that road to make it smooth again. Well, remember that the virus is all about autoimmune function. And what happens with the virus is your immune system learns that whenever I see this virus again, I'm calling all my boys, I'm calling the whole police department. We're rushing in and we're jumping that virus and we're ganging up on it, and we're going to take it and carry it and get rid of it. We're going to have it killed and get rid of it out of the body. Well, when the immune systems, in some instances, when the immune system sees this virus, it overreacts in a way, and it starts to actually bind with the virus. And then other pieces of the immune system bind, constantly binding. So they make a ball, a very big ball that becomes its own clot that causes you harm. So it's your immune system actually working in many instances, or the virus causing damage to the blood vessel itself, just like a pothole in the road. So therefore, then all the flow is clogged up. So that is very common with, and when I say common, it's something that individuals who treat the people who have been infected with COVID are well recognized that this occurs. Right?
Hey, that's great information too, doctor. And what I
Let me
also
just
heard you
say
say,
this, Reggie, because she was told, because she was hospitalized, that she had to wait 90 days after her diagnosis in order to get a vaccination.
Okay. So she was, and so when we get her hospitalized story, was she the one, an individual that had the blood clots?
No. My aunt had
Okay,
the
someone
blood.
else. Okay,
This
right.
is someone else.
So it would be so good to get her story to find out, because again, what she's telling us is that she didn't just get the virus, but the hospitalization itself and the things that actually occurred while she was hospitalized, why the individuals who are treating her believe that she should have to get the virus, the vaccine in 90 days. I'm going to tell you this too, that one of the things that individuals who are treating look at this way is, if you have the virus and you're already developing immunity, someone else could get the shot while you're already covered. As I was explaining to Akil, theoretically, he has protection against that virus. The same protection as if he got a vaccine. So to give him a vaccine, in some instances, within the first few days or whatever, would be like giving a vaccine that someone else could have while he has protection.
Oh, okay. Well, her spokesperson just joined us.
you sounded like you were her spokesperson.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Actually, I thought that she was her agent.
Right.
No. This was my girlfriend's sister, and I was just concerned because I know she told me, I asked her if she was getting her vaccination, and she said, well, let her speak for herself. Mimi, go ahead and speak for yourself.
Well, before Mimi does, and
Okay.
I thank you for joining us, Mimi. I definitely wanted to see what Henry had to say, because he's been here all the time. And so, Henry, what's going on with you, bro?
Yeah, I have to go. I was waiting to get this. I'm going to a question here. First of all, I had both. I'm 71 years old. I had both vaccines. After the second one, I had headaches and body aches. I'll make it quick. My question is, now I also get, I have low testosterone. So I get monthly shots of testing, right? Now, I just got the second shot, like I said, on the 18th of February. Like I said, I had some headaches and body aches, but it went away after 2 days. I feel great now. How long should I wait now before I get that steroid shot? Because I'm a little confused about, would that steroid shot interfere with my vaccine?
Not at all. I'm not aware of any information or data that would say that you'd have to wait. In fact, there's more information and data that says that you should have to wait to get your COVID vaccine after you've had another type of vaccination than it is to say that after you get your COVID vaccine, that you have to stop getting a steroid type shot. So
it's okay because
nothing.
I was going to wait a month. I didn't want it to interfere. So now I know.
Right. It will. The systems of how they work is different. It would be kind of like you're saying, well, you know, I worked on my dishwasher, so should I hold off on using the oven because they're both in the same kitchen? I would say, you know, those two work in a different way, and so therefore I'm not aware of you having to wait to get your other your steroid shot because you received the COVID vaccination.
Okay, and I want to tell you, I feel, anybody was worried about, I feel great. After those 2 days, I'm 100%. I've been,
right.
But I was still told, I still have to protect myself. I still have to stay my distance because if I contract it,
wear that mask.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
And thank you for being here, Henry. Thanks for chiming in, man. We really appreciate that because, you know, you're representing thousands of people who've got questions. And I want to remind everybody, if you didn't get a chance to be here live this time, you can check out the whole recording in Facebook. And you can also, if you know somebody, join us in the Wellness, Awareness, and Recovery community, where Dr. Virgil is our Chief Medical Officer. And I can't tell you that you'll be able to get an office visit with him all the time like this. So you need to join us live so you can get your questions in. But you can definitely get some information that will empower you and make you much more informed and courageous when you are dealing with the medical professionals. And it might just save your life. I don't know. Wouldn't be the first time. I know some stories. This brother has saved some lives. So thank you very much, Henry. Thank you, Dion. And Mimi, unmute yourself and speak for yourself, please. Come on. And this is the speed round. You caught us in the speed round. Thank you for showing up. We don't want to take up too much of the doctor's time today. We were supposed to go to 3 o'clock. We're at 4 o'clock, but get yours in, please.
Hey, I've been trying to get with wherever you are, Reggie, so this is good. But it was real simple. I was scheduling a vaccine for my sister and I, and she told me she had to wait 90 days because she had been hospitalized for COVID. So we got mom in and we got my brother-in-law in as her caregiver.
Beautiful.
That's all.
Great. So you're correctly, the caregivers and the individuals who are directly around her have been vaccinated, and that's absolutely correct. And they have met the requirements in the state of Georgia. Is this in the state of Georgia, by the way?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. All right. And so the information you give us is great. And I understand that more than likely the providers who are caring for her have taken a look at the situation that's going on with her and have made that suggestion. Was there a specific question that you had related to it? Because I can see how that was definitively recommended for her, especially since she's hospitalized.
I think that Dion wanted to make sure that my sister had the correct information. So I think we're on the same page, but you know, while I'm on here, my mom is 89 and she's had her doctor since she was in her 30s. And he does not wear a mask around his patients, none of his, he said he doesn't believe in it. When we asked for the vaccine, he said no. And we cannot tell mom that she needs a new caregiver. He's too old. He just.
How old is he? I was gonna say, how old is this provider?
He's older than mama.
So I would, you know, that's a difficulty that you all have. And I think you already understand that given what we know, he's putting her at risk. And given what we know, he's not abiding by his oath to first do no harm. And
right.
So I would have some concern about that. And, you know, that seems to be something that you all would have to, you know, work with your mother. I would suggest, even if there was some way of you to be able to suggest her that she just go get a second opinion, or, you know, talk to somebody else in the family who's in the medical field. Doesn't have to be a doctor. And maybe that might help out. But she definitely, I would suggest that she get the vaccination at 89 years of age. I would definitely suggest that she not be around a medical provider who's walking around unmasked in a closed room while giving her care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of situations out there, and we can't get to all of them at one time. But we'll do it again. We've been doing it in the past. We started these conversations long before the vaccines came out last year. And most everything that the doctor predicted has been on point. And so we just want to get as much information to you and share your experiences whenever we can. So we'll do this again sometime soon. If you're watching this as a recording, join us in the wellness, awareness, recovery community in Mighty Networks. And we'll have the ongoing conversation, and we'll continue to encourage each other and to hold each other accountable for the healing solutions that are available. We've got some really cutting edge 21st century healing solutions for you. And so we can't get to all of those today, but we'll have some more of these town halls or call it whatever you want to call it. But we'll get together and share our strength, hope, and experiences again. Dr. Luther Virgil Jr., who do you remember the show? It wasn't Doogie Howser, Dr. House. You remember the show Dr. House? Huh? Yeah, well, I call him Dr. Cribs because he comes from way across Georgia. And so, but he's definitely a blessing for us all. And so thank you very much, Dr. Virgil, for showing up again.
Thank you
and
guys all.
bringing the noise.
Good talking with you all. I appreciate it.
Thank all of you for showing up.
And be healthy, guys. Be healthy.
Yes,
your
sir.
health is your wealth. So
Good to see you, Dr. Luther.
Yeah, my name is
Nice
Reggie Smith. And I want to thank you all for showing up again. It's through God's grace that we have this opportunity to be here. Didn't have to be this way. And let's do it again sometime really soon. And until we do, I want to wish you all peace and blessings.
All right.
All right, Reggie.
Hey, Mimi.